soon after my stay at the sleep clinic. I missed my old friend and thought of him often, especially when I had a dream that was more of a vision like the one with my mom and the snowy white owl. One night while coming off the Klonopin, I dreamt of what felt like an ancient time. In the dream, it was the middle of the night and in the middle of a forest clearing surrounded by rolling hills covered in tall oaks. I was part of a procession of women, and each of us wore a long white gown. We walked from the top of the knolls down to a shimmering lake, a magical lake. A full moon illuminated our path, and Ellen Burstyn stood nearby. She was the leader, a high priestess, and was pleased with the scene before her. One at a time, each woman reached into the mysterious waters of the so-called lake and pulled out her personal power or gift. My sister Patricia was before me, and her hands surfaced strewn with gold, silver, and jewels. My turn came. I plunged my hands into the water, which was icy cold and sent a jolt of awareness through my dream body. I am awake. I dream thought. I am conscious. My hands were full of living, growing things, beautiful vines, roses, leaves, and moss in the shape of a cross, but older than a Christian cross. It was primeval and palpitated in my open hands and gave them the power to heal. In real life, Ellen Burstyn had continued to mentor and mother me. She'd officiated at our wedding, and Mark, Zach, and I spent many holidays in her home. I consider her a spiritual advisor as well as an artistic one, so her role in my dream made perfect sense. Plus, I had recently rewatched one of my favorite films, Resurrection. In it, Ellen plays a woman who dies in a car crash, is resuscitated, and awakens to discover that she has become a healer. We met for lunch at West Bank Cafe, and I recounted my dream. I also confided about coming off the Klonopin and my trepidation over a possible relapse, how I longed to be free of the medicine and to conceive. Well, you have to write about the sleepwalking and find a way to get it out into the world. You want to come up and meet your heart? Terrifying. What could she possibly be thinking? I'm not a writer. Besides, how can I write about what I hardly remember? Start from what you know. Start from the acting. Use sense memory exercises to explore the bits and pieces you do recall. Lee used to say, you'd be amazed what happens when you just make the effort. Ellen was referring to Lee Strasberg, co-founder of the group theater, which led to the creation of the Actors Studio. Originator of the acting technique known as the method, he led the studio for many years and had taught Ellen, as well as a long list of other brilliant stage and film actors. Strasberg died in 1982, a year before I first became a finalist, so I never met him, but I've learned tremendously from his disciples. She smiled wisely. Don't you see? It's the next right thing to do. It's our actor's alchemy. It's time to reach into that dark lake of your subconscious mind and transform all that suffering into art. We were to dessert by this time, and I felt I should have been more enthused by her inspirational speech. I dumped my chamomile tea bag nervously. It seemed like every effort was to calm myself, and this idea of sharing my story in some public way riled me up inside. It was the antithesis of Kathy's so quiet you wouldn't even know she was here. It was tantamount to putting Invisible Girl on stage, shining a magic spotlight and revealing me for the freak that I was. I'm ashamed to say, I'm afraid people will think I'm a freak. I lowered my voice as the hostess seated a couple at a nearby table. Ellen laughed out loud, and diners turned their heads, an excuse to take a long look at the famous actress. We're all freaks, Kathleen. We've all been traumatized one way or another, each of us dissociated, a little or a lot, sleepwalking through life, bumbling our way toward consciousness. The only difference between the audience and the artists is that we have to do it to save our lives. We're brave or dumb enough, depending on how you look at it, to screw our courage to the sticking post and bare our souls. So I put pen to paper, a nervous scrawl, and the more I wrote, the better I slept.